Hello and welcome to another episode of the Land and Blast podcast. I'm Sam Terrell.
I'm Chris Martin.
And I'm Ashley Lacer.
And today is a Get to Know Us episode where we're introducing Ashley, who is an integral part of our team. Welcome, Ashley.
Thank you.
Chris, I gotta ask, how did you meet this awesome human being?
I think you were renting space from Garrett at the same time I was. You started renting space as an appraiser from Garrett at
Just
the
as
same
you
time
were.
I was transitioning from residential real estate to rural.
Yes.
So that would have been 2015, I guess.
16.
15? 16?
15.
Okay. Somewhere in there.
Somewhere.
Okay.
It's long enough to know where I don't remember.
Coming up on 10 years.
Yes.
Okay. So I guess the picture, I was confused, I would say, because most appraisers, not to stereotype appraisers, if appraisers are listening, I do like appraisers, but there's generally an analytical and kind of a dryness to, not all, but a lot of appraisers. And when I met Ashley, I was like, this lady has so much energy and drive and this, that, and the other thing and outgoing. And I'm like, why are you doing appraisals? Like, I understand that you're probably good at it, but why are you putting all this energy and people skills to waste on that? That's what went through my mind. But so anyway, long story short, I was looking for someone to replace Wes when he retired, and that stuck with me. And I just kind of just teasing out like, hey, when are you going to come
For like
work
3 years.
or so? When are you going to come work for us? You know, when are you going to come to the good side? Yeah. And I guess finally that sales tact worked, or her life had all the different things lined up that you were looking for something a little bit different. And
God told me it was time to walk through that door. That's what that was.
Perfect. No, I respected what she was able to accomplish in the appraisal world, the way she conducted herself when she was asking questions about properties and going through that whole process. We had a chance to, I guess, share a client where you were the appraiser and I was the broker on a couple of transactions. And I recognized that there was a level of competency in what she was doing that fit perfectly to what we did with rural sales.
Yeah.
And then personality-wise, I was like, well, you belong in the sales side, not locked in a box talking to the bank. So here we are.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, and for me, when I moved to Southern Oregon, I started renting that space from Garrett. As, you know, being an appraiser of rural properties, you kind of want to be in the office where all the rural ag agents are, right? Makes confirming sales a whole lot easier. And then by being part of that culture and that group in that office over time, somebody from that office helped me buy our 20 acres that we're, raising our kids on. And that whole process was so positive. And then whenever I was calling to confirm sales, Chris was usually the leading broker because this is his lane.
Yeah.
And so through that process on my side, it was just a breath of fresh air to be able to call a broker who knew the property, knew the clients, knew the story. And sometimes as appraisers, you don't know what questions to ask.
Sure.
But he was always forthright in the information I would need to do my job. And I always appreciated that. So over time, the barrier finally just broke down and I said yes.
Let's walk through that door. And so, yeah, I mean, today, is really just about introducing Ashley and getting to know who you are. But if I may, I just want to say Ashley is a very dynamic human being. She is the senior partner at MOPG and a lot of other things, including she's a broker. She is a mother, clearly. Little Liam is joining us today. Entrepreneur, appraiser, and the 5-wife, as you've coined, yes?
Yeah, the 5-life wife, yes.
5-life wife. Could you take us through the 5 things?
I'm not like a huge Instagram person, but sometimes I like to share cute pictures of my life. And so I didn't really know what other name to do because I do lots of things. And so it's kind of like real estate life, farm life, mom life, wife life, and then fashion life, because I also have a manufacturing company where I design and manufacture my own clothing line.
Fabulous.
So I kind of do lots of things.
Yeah, like I said, lots of stuff going on. But no, so we're so excited to have you. Thank you for bringing Liam. And so what's, just before we dive into all the nitty gritty, what's been going on in your life? How's Liam? What's going on?
So as you can see, I recently had our son, and so he's almost 10 weeks. And so I've kind of just been doing the newborn thing again. I have 2 other kids, both girls, they're 8 and 12. So we're kind of starting all over. He's our final puzzle piece.
So how was it for you and Mike and the girls to spend like a month of like not having a whole bunch of other things going on?
I don't know what you're talking about. We have 3 children. There's my 2
But you didn't work-ish, and Mike didn't work for a month. Like, I have this rose-colored glass picture of what that would look
Family
like.
vacation.
My husband sold one of his Jeeps in that time. That was progress.
Yay! Go Mike, sell those Jeeps.
No, but it was good to, I think for me, when you know it's your last and you're blessed to have someone like Liam join, you kind of just slow down a little bit in life. And so it's been a really nice blessing, kind of like a reset of priorities and family and time. And as a driven individual, it's hard to shut that part of my life off, but I know this is my last rodeo with a little one this small. And so I've just really been...
And you've actually done a pretty good job.
I
had my doubts.
I have tried. I sometimes look at my phone and say I should call, and I say no, I'm not going to call.
So we're here in Southern Oregon. We're at this beautiful vineyard. How did you find yourself here?
So my husband was in the Army National Guard, and he was actually part of the Medford sniper section, and so he deployed. And during that deployment, he called me one day because we'd been wanting a change for a while.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, I got a buddy that lives in Medford. Do you want to move to Medford?" And I said, "Sure." That was pretty much it. And so he got back from Afghanistan, and he put in for a transfer for work down here, which was approved. And at the time, I was very pregnant, so he moved down here first.
Gotcha.
And that was about 8 years ago. And so I knew no one, and here we are.
Awesome. Now you know a lot of people.
Now I know a lot of people. Yes.
And so, yeah, so maybe a little bit more about that. So you moved up to Oregon about 8 years ago, and you have this multifaceted background of things that you're currently doing, things that you did do. You still kind of go back and forth. What contributed, or what experiences did you have that led to that versatility?
Sure. So I grew up in Northern California. My grandparents were pretty instrumental in raising me, kind of old school ethics, work integrity, all those kinds of things.
Sure.
They were small business owners themselves. And my dad was in real estate.
Okay.
And so for me, watching them being able to build a business, serve their community, and then basically kind of create their own rules for their own life. Mm-hmm. They were at every baseball game or soccer game or dance recital. They were always there.
Yeah.
And their goal in life was not to work to make all the money. Their goal was to work to provide for a lifestyle. And if you've met my grandparents, you would know that they did best working for themselves. And so I kind of just inherited that from them. And I just enjoy creating and being and leading, kind of like they did.
Yeah.
And being able to provide a lifestyle and for my family as well.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
They can just come with me wherever I go.
Right. Yeah. Take them all over the place. Show them beautiful vineyards and other properties. And then so Chris spoke about this a little bit. You have an appraisal background prior to your current role as a broker on the team. Where did the appraisal start? How did you get into that?
So I took a class in college, farm and ranch appraisal, and that kind of spurred like a passion for both outdoor properties and real estate in a kind of a niche part of the industry of real estate.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of pursued that for a long time. I've basically been involved in appraisal in some capacity since that year, which would have been 2005, I believe.
What was it like, for those of us that don't know, because I've never been an appraiser, I've been a broker for a little while. What was that transition like? Was it like, how did that go?
So I'm
want to answer that one too.
Chris,
What was that like for you?
yeah, Chris is going to have lots to say on this. So there's a lot of overlap, but then there's a lot of different nuances to each. So as an appraiser, you're very factual, non-emotional, black and white, right? But we all know real estate isn't black and white. So when I made the transition, in brokerage, we're supposed to be marketing.
Yeah.
Making things sound pretty. Yeah, appraisers.
Being honest about it. Yeah.
As appraisers, you don't really make things sound pretty.
Yeah.
You're like, acreage is this, water rights are that, the house was this many square feet.
Yeah.
So in the first couple weeks, months, I'll let Chris talk about how long it took. My marketing remarks were, the house was this size, the water rights were this, there was this many acres. And he's like, yeah, fluff it. You gotta fluff it.
Give it a little more gusto.
And so there was definitely a transition there from knowing the factual basis of what the value components are to communicating that in a marketing way that resonated on an emotional level.
Sure.
And so there was definitely a learning curve there.
Okay, would you agree, good sir?
I would have probably said, would you buy the property that you just described after reading what you wrote? It's beautiful. No, I think it was interesting for me. I've had a chance to train, I don't know, half a dozen people in different capacities from a short period of time to like us, where it's kind of been from the beginning all the way through. Yeah. I had never worked through a training process with someone who literally knew way more about real estate in a certain sector than I did, yet knew absolutely nothing in another sector. It was this super interesting dichotomy of, Ashley, what do I do with this property valuation? Or, hey, what do you think about this? In this very peer-to-peer conversation. Yeah. And the next moment, it's like, hey, will you do this? She's like,
how do I fill out this form?
I have no idea what you're asking. Why would I do that? I'm like, that's right. Brand new broker, not brand new to the industry, but it wasn't this well-rounded picture that you kind of have to be when you're a broker. You kind of have to be a jack of all trades, master of one or two.
Sure.
In appraisal, it was absolute master of one area and then the supporting things you need to know, but then no real background in, say, negotiation or client follow-up relationships or marketing, those pieces. So it was very interesting for me in this dichotomy between, expert and brand new.
Yeah.
So it was wild there for a little bit.
Yeah.
And it was, I think the other thing that was hard but fun at the same time was being able to walk into meetings with clients or, different, networking events or whatever, and being able to get to hear a polished and very professional perspective that was very different from my own.
Yeah.
And it still, to this day, is a huge benefit of why I feel like when the two of us walk into a meeting together, you get a return of 3 or 4x, not just 2x, and that's how I think it should be in good partnerships. So I still think that holds true today, but in the beginning it was an extreme difference in viewpoint or opinion or whatnot. It wasn't in a conflicting way, it was just
no, and I think part of it too there was a lot of confidence I had over in my sector, and then there was that unknown world I was entering.
It was like 100 and 0.
Yes, yeah. So there was that blending of learning yet being confident that I was trying to navigate through. And as appraisers, we are typically overly cautious about everything we do, and so sometimes I found myself overthinking.
Sure.
Just a wee bit. And so, but because Chris had so much experience in those things, it was nice where he could be like, you don't have to worry about this, focus on this. And so the training process, once we figured out where I needed to be trained, got a lot smoother.
Awesome.
Yeah, and once we worked through the realization for me that the whole expert in one area doesn't translate to expert in every area.
Yeah, of course. And correct me if I'm wrong, you do have like a niche expertise in vineyards.
Yeah, so part of that just came from a passion for that industry.
Yeah.
I was able to learn from one of the best vineyard winery appraisers in the state, mentor and colleague, and very high level of respect for him. And by seeing what he was able to do in the industry and just the people in the industry, from the grape grower to the large scale winery operator, it's just an industry I've enjoyed being in, and I've just kind of hung out there.
Sure. And it's been a testament to what you guys have been able to accomplish in the region, I would say, right? I mean,
oh, there's no doubt, not just the winery vineyard expertise, but the overall appraisal expertise has helped round out the skill set of the marketing that we already were doing.
Yeah.
It really gives a lot of legs to stand on. But specifically, vineyard and winery, there's nobody else in sales that I'm aware of, for sure in Southwest Oregon, but maybe only a couple in the state, who can say, hey, not only do I have a sales experience, but I have this extra education experience that is going to be helpful for you as a buyer or seller of a vineyard.
Absolutely. And so coming out of appraisal, joining the team, how did you decide to work with a team versus doing something solo or going around for other brokers? Like, what was that thought process like?
So I'd worked with teams in the past, and I'd worked by myself in the past. And right before I joined the team, I was working pretty much solo for a couple of years. And like Chris said, I'm kind of a social person.
Yeah.
And moving to a new area where I didn't know a bunch of people, I found myself working by myself wasn't enjoyable or rewarding.
Sure.
And so after a couple of years of Chris talking to me and me being a part of the Rogue Valley, but not being innately serving the Rogue Valley, that's when I decided to make the switch. And now I'm able to meet people in my community, help people in my community. And so that was kind of the integral part of the team atmosphere itself is much more rewarding.
Yeah.
You don't just call yourself and say, "Hey, self, what do you think about this?" I have this whole
There's
team.
a sounding board somewhere. Yeah.
Right, I have a sounding board. And so we have a super well-rounded team with all kinds of different backgrounds and experiences and personality styles, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes if I'm struggling through something, whether it's a relational issue or a transactional issue, I usually know the person on my team to call that can help me navigate it.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, being able to lean on others to kind
And
of
they're
help.
way better to listen to than calling myself.
Right. Yeah. Get out of our own internal monologue. Oh my gosh. Yeah. No, thank you. And so, kind of talking about that, like having sounding boards, having a team, being able to relate to other people. What would you say is kind of been the biggest reward from working in this industry, either on the appraisal side, but even more so now on the brokerage side? What's been kind of like your favorite part about it, or the most rewarding part about it?
I would say every time, it's probably gonna sound cliche, but when we get a client across the finish line, real estate inherently is the most expensive decision people make in their entire life, usually, time and time again. And the trust that goes with that, I don't take lightly. I take it super, like I internalize that a lot, sometimes too much. But to see the relief on someone's face knowing they've closed something because they needed to sell. We've had clients from all over, from financial distress, needing to sell, to great fun stories of I just sold my business and now it's time to retire and I want to buy my dream ranch, and everything in between. But like that handshake at the end of a transaction, that knowing you helped them cross the finish line, and like when they say thank you, that resonates. I want to do that all the time. I want to do that forever.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Literally.
Well, and I've been lucky enough to work with you on some transactions, and like it seems to me that the people that you work with, you're able to forge long-lasting relationships with too, which I think is a testament to you and your persona. It's a testament to our team, but it's part and parcel of everything that you're bringing to the table.
If you can't have a relationship with your clients in this industry, there's so much trust.
Yeah.
And you're going to have hard conversations sometimes.
Yeah.
Really hard conversations.
Big time hard.
Big time, yeah.
Like,
and,
what are you thinking? Why are you buying this property? We need to talk.
Why did you make this
you
in the first place? Absolutely.
And if you can't have that if there's no trust in that relationship, neither person's going to walk away with a win. And so there's been times where Chris and I have gone into meetings and we're interviewing both people and property in a way. We have to make sure it's a fit, because we don't want to have to get to those hard conversations without trust, because how can we advocate for you if you're not going to be honest with what your needs are?
Of course.
Right? And so getting to know people, it's been fun.
You're really good about reminding us about it's people over
property.
That's the most important thing. And the other thing is that it has to be a mutual win-win like relationship. Like as a client, you want them to want to work with you, and we want to be excited to go to work for them.
Yeah.
Like that what's the word I'm looking for there? Anyway.
Synergy,
yes, thank you.
Hey, baby brain worked on that one.
Hey.
Hey.
No, that's awesome. And maybe taking another step back, because you have a lot going on in the professional world. What do you do when you're not working? Ashley Lacey.
That happens?
Does it happen?
It happens a lot more now. So over the past couple of years, it's that whole you get wiser with age thing, right?
Sure, some of us.
Some of us, yes.
None of us are that old yet.
We're still working on some of that wisdom.
No, but for example, just adding Liam to our life recently just kind of really reinforced what am I spending my free time on? Because as an entrepreneur, anyone who's an entrepreneur knows it's hard to shut that off.
Yeah.
There's no magic button that turns the creativity or the drive on and off. And so a lot of times I get asked the same question of like, how do you do all the things you do and this and that? And Chris taught me this magic rule called time blocking, which I've gotten better at, but trying to compartmentalize things better, including blocking out free time.
Yeah.
As a mom of 3 and a wife, we have 26 acres. There's lots to do.
Sure.
And so reprioritizing has been a really big thing for me.
Yeah.
And I think that also helps resonate with our clients because family should always be the focus. And so being able to get to know clients and their families and their stories, why they want to live on rural properties, right?
Yeah.
Chris and Alex and myself, we all each live on some acreage because we want to provide a lifestyle for our kids to grow up with some freedom. And
Yeah.
but yeah.
Absolutely. We have all of our start sitting in our kitchen window right now. That's our first foray.
We're skipping the
You're lucky it's only kitchen window. It's my whole kitchen
Pinky
right
down.
now.
Pinky down. Yeah, we're skipping garden this year.
Okay.
We got chickens though.
There you go. Hey, fun little fluffy feathery things running around.
Don't remind me.
I have egg-laying chickens. He has like 100+ meat bird
birds.
chickens.
Yeah.
And 25 egg-laying chickens.
Okay.
Yeah, you've got a whole situation going on.
And I can't even blame anyone but myself. It was my
We're
idea
living the
this
lifestyle
year.
that we sell. Oh man. No, awesome. And I guess maybe like as a recommendation to some that are listening to this, you have a lot of irons in the fire. We're surrounded in this industry by workaholics. How do you convince yourself to take a break, and how do you establish those priorities? Like, how do you make that happen?
You look at this little face. You look at this little face. Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just like family grounds you in all kinds of ways.
Bless you.
Yeah. His daddy does that too. He sneezes in the sun.
Oh, jeez.
But yeah, just reprioritizing and finding out what drives you and why.
Sure.
That's a big thing that we talked about when I first started working here. We do like these annual team retreats, is like finding your why.
Yeah.
Why are you doing what you do? And so that's why the relationship is so important, is going to work for the people that want you to be there.
Yeah.
Is kind of an easy way to navigate where you spend your time.
Of course. No, that makes a lot of sense. And now that you've had this moment, because we talked about there's a perspective shift a little bit happening, and there's been some time taken away. Are there, either personally or professionally, are there anything or other things now that you're looking at, they're like, oh, I want to go do that, or any like new endeavors, or has there been a shift like where you're like, hey, I've never done this, I want to summit that mountain, or is there anything that's happened like that?
When we talk about summiting a mountain, I've been recovering from a tendon injury
Okay.
for 14 months,
There you go.
which has taken out quite a bit. And so when I think about where I want to shift or spend more time, it's actually not on like creating a new business or doing a new venture or any of those things. It's getting outside more.
Yeah.
And like my husband loves to go hiking with llamas. And so I would like to recover to the point where I can go with him.
Yeah, with llamas.
With llamas. And go on camping trips more, and just, I drove myself at a pace that probably was not sustainable for a long time.
Yeah, breakneck. Yeah.
Yeah, and my body literally started to break. And so by being forced to be off my feet in a capacity where simple things like walking or going grocery shopping have been challenging, it kind of makes you again reevaluate how and where you spend your time.
Sure.
And I've never appreciated walking more than I have in the past year.
The little things.
It's the little things. And so my drive to come back is to be able to, again, I haven't been able to really walk one of our listing properties in over a year.
Wow.
Just because of my foot. And
Yeah.
so just to kind of get back out there and physically be myself again.
Sure.
So I'm trying to focus more on health and wellness things.
One thing that's been just cool within the whole team is we've had kind of a shift. Obviously Shannon coming into the fold is an encouragement. Some of the changes that I've done, and then some of the things that Alex is trying to work on and she's working on. Like there's an entire team
Yeah.
focused toward general wellness that is really it's needed. It's at the right time in our lives to do this, to make those changes where it really makes a difference, and just been cool to watch on different fronts in different ways.
And I was usually the bad influence on the food side.
Copy that.
So that's going to change too when I come back.
No, I like it. No, I that's great, and honestly, like that's something on my side of things. Even though I'm not in the Medford office, like that, I would like calling it a health focus is a little bit, concrete, but just like that overall push,
It's wellness.
to take more time to ourselves, eat healthier, work out every now and again, get outside, be in the sun, enjoy life a little bit, while maintaining a certain standard of performance and excellence.
Yep.
I think that's been a really healthy metric for all of us to start basing our lives on, because without taking care of ourselves and those that we love, we can't do that for other people. And so it's been a nice grounding effect.
It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that whole "you can't pour from an empty cup."
Yes,
That whole concept. And when your cup gets too empty, you've got to figure out better things to fill it with.
Yeah, you got to recharge that battery.
Yep.
For another metaphor, or another allegory. So, for anybody watching, or a younger Ashley watching that's looking to get into this industry or bolster their career, what's a piece of advice that you would give your younger self, knowing what you know now?
Like the professional advice or like the personal advice?
Either
Those
or
are,
both.
Those are like contradictory things in a way.
Give us a little bit of that appraiser black and white.
For me, my grandparents kind of raised me to have no boundaries with dreams and to strive after whatever you want to.
Yeah.
And so I've kind of, I wouldn't say live like with reckless abandon, but I take bigger risks than some people are probably willing to.
Yeah.
My husband and I just got done building a 2-year-long warehouse project in a somewhat unstable economy, in all candor, with interest rates and all the things. Kind of risky. That goes south. That kind of impacts my life a lot.
Sure.
But for me, I would just say take the risk.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's just time and money.
Yeah. It's
And
just time
so,
and money.
but really, I mean,
yeah.
even if you make a mistake, if you're young enough, you have time to correct it and figure out a different path or
can
a new
recover,
opportunity.
adjust.
Yeah. And so if you have something that's just on your heart you really want to do, just go and do it.
I like that.
And then on the personal side, I would say while you're doing all the things you want to accomplish, take the time off too.
Okay.
Enjoy the ride.
Take a break, kids.
Take a break, yes.
Awesome. Chris, can you share anything else that you're thinking about when it comes to Ashley Lacer?
Ticker tape. No, I would say professionally, you've been off now for a little over 2 months with new baby
Yep.
and this exciting season. Realizing the impact that you have on the group when you're not there versus when you are there. The first few weeks was like, oh, this is new, it's exciting, it's different, like just the new, and then instantly it just wore off and went, no, we really miss her being around here, and we like there's an energy and excitement about life that is really it helps us. There's a lot of things you do and get done, but there was also just a general like balance that feels in place when everyone is there, and it's. Without that, we're out of. It just feels out of balance, and that's. If you look at like a personality profile, in many ways, well, there are definitely differences. Both of us are very driven people, and in theory should butt heads. Not saying we don't disagree from time to time.
Yeah.
Usually it's on value.
Value or other, things of that nature. But. If you read the textbooks, like it shouldn't work well together because both of us test way too high in being driven and crazy
High on the D level.
in theory, work together. But it works because there's a synergy or a like-mindedness about the horizon of where we want to go. There's a synergy and a like-mindedness of personal convictions and beliefs that works well. And in theory, it probably shouldn't, but it does.
I think one of the other things that works the best in our team structure is the lack of selfishness. No one is out to better themselves above anybody else. And I've never been a part of a team that was like that consistently for 5 years. Like when I go to work every day, never once do I have to question, ethics or morals or motivations or any of those things. We're all going to work for each other because we're all trying to lift each other up in the same way.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to put themselves above the other. We just want to help each other and our clients in the same ways we can.
Lift everybody up.
Exactly.
Well, I think neither one of us are super highly motivated by money. We're both very motivated by success.
Yeah.
And I think what I said earlier about the two of us in the same team produces a net positive, it's a 2x input and a 4x return or a 5x return.
Yeah.
It's a huge multiplier. And I think that makes it even easier to go, whatever rough edges there are, we're both driven to do things really well and excel.
Yeah.
And we're doing better as a group than we would be individually. And that's a no-brainer. But I think, personally, well, I mean, having gotten to know Mike, and gotten to know you guys as a
Mike's
family.
my husband, in case anybody doesn't know that.
I just have a lot of respect for you guys and what you've accomplished and some of your willingness to take on risk and do. And, I have a lot of, admiration for that. The grit that goes with making some of those decisions. I personally don't have the same risk tolerance.
I'll tell you in a couple of years if it all works out.
Yeah. And, but personally, just, very like-minded families, and it just, is really, it's good. And Alex and you and Shannon, and Sam,
Hello.
Evan, Danny, like the whole group, I look at everybody, we're all equals, everybody has different levels of experience or strengths and weaknesses and so on and so forth. But I think that's the thing, like with a true organic team, is we're all rowing the same direction. And no one's better than the next person.
No, and
you embody that. You do.
It's also kind of like that cliche statement, but it's like working with family. Like when there can be disagreements here or there, which are minor, it's like talking to a brother or something where even though you're gonna spat it out for a little bit, no one's going anywhere because you're family. Right. And there's
true.
It's and so it's what you would think working with family could be challenging, but there's some magic sauce that works for all of us where we're just, it's hard to explain. It just...
Well, the differences. I think the differences are literally a difference maker because of the complements and the fact that we respect those differences and appreciate it, I guess.
Yeah. There's just widespread respect amongst everybody. And of just a strong desire to see everybody succeed, not just professionally, but with their families too.
Yeah.
Again, part of working with the team, there's that whole work-life balance conversation, right?
Yeah.
I couldn't do what I'm doing now by having a third kid and having this kind of a business without a team.
Yeah.
Chris couldn't go on big, long hunting trips in fall time if he didn't have a team.
Yeah.
Alex loves to go on his camping trips with his wife and their 2 boys, and by us being, you just travel the world and do all kinds of crazy stuff.
I don't have any kids. Cheat code.
But in general, that team atmosphere, what's nice is everyone's willing to work hard to also allow the team to have the family time they need, because you have to have the balance.
Yeah.
And without a team, you can't have that balance.
No. And we have the ability to provide that for one another.
Yeah.
Well, Ashley, thank you so much for sitting down with us and talking about yourself amongst.
Thanks, Liam, for not.
Liam.
Yep, he's a pretty chill dude.
I love it. And Chris, thank you as always.
Absolutely.
For helping run this. And that was the Get to Know Us series with Ashley Lacer on the Land and Blast podcast. Have a great day, everybody.